There we go. There we go. Welcome, everybody.
Welcome.
Welcome to Speaker Series. I am going to mute everyone but Allie and Steve. But let's go ahead and start with an opening prayer or treatment. Does anyone feel called to do it?
I do.
Go for it.
I know there is one God everywhere present right now, one Spirit in and through each of us, each of everything in existence. And as this one Spirit for good, I know that this meeting given to us by our beloved speaker is being absorbed and listened, and we as listeners are present through the entirety.
Uh-oh. You guys, I'm sorry. We got to get Eleanor. Can you unmute? It muted you by accident.
Just muted myself. All
There
right.
you go. There you go.
Here we go. Back again. I know there is only one power for good, everywhere present throughout the universe and beyond. As such, this presence is within me and everyone who tunes in at this moment, knowing that each one of us is aware of our being, our body, our breath, our awareness into the truth of life. And because this meeting is for the purpose of listening, absorbing, and becoming, I give great thanks. And so I release it, and so it is.
So it is. I'm going to turn the meeting over to Allie, and at the very end, I'll come back with some announcements.
Wonderful. Thank you. Well, good morning to those of you that are here live, and hello to everyone that's watching this as a replay. My name is Reverend Allie Benjamin, and I am the host of the affiliated New Thought Network Speaker Series. And today we have a very special guest, one of our very long time members, and many of you will have known Dr. Steve. And for those of you that don't, he's such an amazing soul that has a deep sense of love for all of life, all the colors of the rainbow. And I know because I've spent time with him, he is so loving and all-inclusive and really wants to create a bigger connection in love and peace and awareness. So I'm going to hand this over to Dr. Steve Albert. Welcome, and thank you for being our special guest today.
Thank you so much, Allie. I am just so honored to be with everyone and looking at faces that I've known for, 15, 16 years. Some of you I've known longer than that, but that was in past lifetimes. So I didn't include that. I asked Allie not to give a big promotion of who I am, because I'd like to start off with kind of a little history. It's only going to take 7-8 minutes, but the history is hopefully going to show you some of my travels and the fact that most of you Can you hear me now? All right. I'm going to go through this really fast. So if you have any questions, that's the way it goes. Going all the way back 1960, I was Jewish, had a bar mitzvah, and I left the synagogue because I said to the rabbi, I'd like to study Kabbalah. And he told me, you can't do that. Well, you can't do it as a young person. You have to wait till you're old and about to retire, and then you can study Kabbalah. And I said, no way. So I started studying on my own. I left the synagogue, got into hypnosis and meditation, past life regressions. And in 1982, I was ordained. I began doing weddings and counseling. And I wrote my first book in 86 that dealt with believing in people. And I think that's something that I have chosen to hold on to probably more than anything else. I believe in people. I believe in the ability of a person to do more than they think they can do. Okay, moving on to 89, I was introduced to the Unity Church. And I really, wow, this is all that I've been teaching. And then somebody said to me, but you know, that's not the same as science of mind. And I said, what? Still not understanding that. Eventually, I became the leader of the Alpine Unity Church. And at the first Agent conference in 99, I met Abigail. Well, talk about a game changer. We fell in love and we joined Agent, and Abigail and I opened our own child-centered church in Newport. And what else? Oh, 2003, I had a stroke. And we found that Poway, San Diego, was really a better place for us. We joined ANTN then. So in 2003 is when we joined ANTN. And we became the family-centered church, which was a combination of unity and religious science. Now, let me see, something's happening here. There you go. Here's where things started to change for us. In 2005, the Baha'is put on a World Peace Day. It was advertised in the paper. Abigail and I looked at each other, said, what's a Baha'i? Had no idea. Turned out speakers came from 8 different faiths and talked about their faith, and wow, it was pretty neat. And later on in 2006, the speakers got together and said, we need to continue this. And in our first year, we had speakers from 16 different faiths speaking about what they believed. And every time somebody would get up and say, oh, you know, I'm Hindu and I believe this, or I'm Sikh and I believe this, Abigail and I would look at each other and say, I believe that too. That's part of New Thought. Wait a minute, what's going on here? Well, in 2008, I wrote the Interfaith Manual, big, thick, almost 400 pages of what 12 different faiths believed in. And then Abigail and I started, we wrote the Interfaith Workbook, and Abigail began to teach interfaith for Emerson. So here we go. We're deeply involved in the New Thought movement because we were teaching New Thought or introducing New Thought to people who are not of the faith. 2009, we attended the Parliament of World Religions in Melbourne, Florida. I'm sorry, Melbourne, Australia. And the most important thing that happened there is that Agent put on a conference the first day of the Parliament, and we had speakers like our wonderful Frank Zamulin, who I hope will be joining us at some point today, who talked about different faiths. And when Abigail and I got back, we started teaching interfaith classes and services rather than just New Thought. So this became strong for us. Well, 2012, I had open heart surgery. And in recovering, we went to a Sikh temple for one of their holidays. And somebody said to us, when is the New Thought holiday? There was none. There was no New Thought holiday. And I said, you know what? I'm going to find a way to create a New Thought holiday for all of us. Well, just that year at the ANTN conference in Scottsdale, Kim Yolder, Kim, are you here? Not yet? Okay. she gave a wonderful PowerPoint history of New Thought. And I said, you know what? I'm getting messages from God. I'm wanting us to address New Thought, and I'm being given this material. Kim said, yes, I'll send you all the slides. Well, I went around that day and I asked Frank and Jean Sweet and Marilyn Hall and Angelo, and I said, what do you think of the idea of creating a New Thought holiday? They all said, quote, great idea, but it will never happen. There's too many egos involved. Well, later that year, Abigail and I were facilitators at the Aging Conference in Rome and Florence, and I got to talk to Ken Gordon. I said, Ken, why can't unity and religious science and all the others come together for a holiday? And Ken said, Steve, I'm right behind you. Well, that led me to go to speak to all the presidents of the different New Thought groups. And I created the first New Thought Day, which is the first Sunday in March every year. John Pileski and Reverend Connie Cook-Core chose the dates, and I designed the PowerPoint, and Lonnie Whittington made it look professional. All of the New Thought people and all of the ANTN people were just involved in it and said, yes, we want to do this. So going 4 years later, I designed a conference in San Diego. It was interfaith, 250 people from 20 different faiths came. And the most important thing that happened is that I went to the city mayors and I said, look, we want everybody to like each other. Forget this fighting, forget this separation. Would you accept Interfaith Awareness Week during that week for your city, for your council people? And they all said yes. Well, that holiday is now a global celebration because the year after that, we went from the county to the state with the governor proclaiming it so. And now we're in over 100 countries. Gene Burns, I know you're there because you're the one that approved the words World Interfaith Network. We were sitting at lunch about 4 years ago, 2019, and you said, yeah, World Interfaith, that would work, yeah. So I thank you for that. Now here's the interesting thing to lead into what we're really talking about today. I wrote in 2020 during the pandemic, Reboot to Interfaith. When I finished it, something wasn't complete. And in June, I got a message. I know all of you speak to God or whoever is your spiritual leader. And you say, what do I do next? Well, God led me through a process. And when I woke up that morning, I realized that I needed to stop celebrating the holiday or celebrating the history or just the beliefs. I needed to look at the beauty of each faith. And when I did, I realized it was all about rainbows. This is my new book. It's been out for about 2 months now. And the beauty of the book is that it blends not just New Thought, but the ideas and the beliefs of 20 other spiritual leaders. From Baha'i, Buddhist, Christian, Catholic, go all the way down. And I saw Manik is here. How are you, Manik? You look terrific. He's Zoroastrian. There were 20 different faiths talked about, and not just talked about by the history. When did you start? What do you believe? We talked about what's beautiful about your faith. And not just what's beautiful about your faith, but how do you show that beauty to others? And the book just leaves a feeling of when you're reading it that, you know what, we really are one. Called by different names, but we really are one. So here's the important thing to realize. And I know that all of you do this anyway. You realize that you are the light. We've talked about this probably, and you've probably given sermons on this. In Genesis said, let there be light, and there was light. And God saw the light and that it was good. The light has been at the beginning, but the important thing to realize that every person has within his or her soul, no matter what their faith, no matter what their beliefs, that same first light that was there at creation. And if you go to Neil deGrassio's book, The Origins, he talks about that the molecules that are within each one of us right now are the exact same molecules that were there on day one when there was some sort of big bang. Whatever you want to believe, it was there at the beginning, it's there now. Now, if you remember back in your first elementary school discussion about the atom, in fact, I remember my uncle bought me a book. I wanted something that was really neat, and he bought me a book that said, Our Friend the Atom. I was so bummed. I wanted something entertaining. I had to read about the atom. And the atom was so small, so tiny, you can't see it. There's no way. And then as you got into the book, you found out there were more things within the atom than the atom itself. The same thing is true about light. There are more things within light than we understand. And within all those portions of color that formulate the light as it goes through a prism, those same colors are there within each person. I'm going to try to see if that works. No, all right. We're looking at light happens to be in every portion of our being. In fact, many of you have studied the chakras, the power places within our body, and realize that those colors really are important to us. Those red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet are power points within our body. And we see these power points everywhere. We see them in our fruits. We see them in our flowers, in our butterflies, in our vegetables. Most important, we see them in our candy. If you didn't see the candy, it's right down the center. You always have to see candy. That's real important. Those rainbows are so important to us that we even bring rainbows into our dress, colors of our clothing. We bring our clothing to our grandchildren and our children and have to look beautiful with lots of colors. I know everybody here has done that. Color is important. In fact, everything in creation has a color. Some of them we rejoice about, and some we don't have that much of effect. But there are no whites and blacks before God. All colors are one, and that is the color of servitude. God does not look at colors. He looks at the heart. Well, here's something, we're almost at the end here, but this is something that you know. If you have a rainbow that you're looking towards, remember Dorothy looking for somewhere over the rainbow. Oh, my dream will come, my future will be there, the good will be there. The idea is that rainbows are available to you. What do you want? But rainbows come after storms. Now, some of us have been through some really personal storms. Sometimes you don't know where you're going, where you're going to be, how things are going to work. Some of you, like me, have had a number of health-related storms, and wow, I don't know that I'm going to make it. And maybe within the family, there's been people that have passed on or have been sick for a period of time. Many times you've had situations in your family, divorce, whatever, family storms that have created questions as to how am I ever going to get back through that? And over these past 15 months, many of us have looked at the work-related storms. I mean, we're supposed to be leading a church and we can't meet with our congregants. How do we get back to them? Where are we going to be in another 3 months, 6 months, a year? And because of many of these things that have happened, some of us have experienced financial storms where how the hell are we going to pay the bills? How are things going to happen if I no longer have a job? I don't have money coming in. What am I going to do? And I say to you that if you have a fear of anything, that's a storm that we need to be able to deal with. But these storms will pass, and every one of you know that these storms will pass. And if you want to get to that rainbow, you've got to have rain. You have to have rain. 2003, when I had my stroke, while I was still recuperating, I wrote the book Reboot. And it deals with how do you restart your system when it has failed. And when I say restart your system, that could be anything. We need to be restarting now. We need to be rebooting our churches. We need to be rebooting our lives. We need to be rebooting our relationships and starting over again so that things are going to work great for us and everybody around us. And the first thing that you already know that I have to emphasize is you have to realize that things have changed and you can never be the same. Now, I don't know about you, but I've talked to a lot of people about what went on with COVID and that they're looking for a new normal. Well, that normal is not going to be what you had before. Normal is different because you have a different understanding of what you went through, where it's brought you today, and how to get through even more and more situations. And what we've come to understand is that there is good that comes from the experience. Look at how many millions of people have stepped out, gone beyond what they even thought they could do to help others. We've realized now that people who are collecting our trash are just as important as those who are in the hospital saving lives. The people, no matter what they're doing, all need to come together and realize that whatever it is they're doing, it's good. And that goodness really brings them to a new place. We've got to believe in our ability to overcome those things that were challenges. I don't know about you, but Zoom became the norm. It's a new norm. It's a changed norm, but it's one that we have been able to overcome. And look, here we are. And interesting enough, when we orient ourselves to these new environments, we find out we get it, it's even better. Interesting, I was talking to Wendy Craig Purcell, who I was the assistant minister for. And her Unity Church has it's a beautiful building. It will seat 1,000 people. And obviously during the pandemic, she had to close and everything had to be done with Zoom. Well, 2 weeks ago, they opened with 150 people. And they were so excited, and I was excited for them. And then she made the announcement that they have had over 10,000 hits on their website. You see, what's changed in our thinking is that our environment has stopped from being just our congregation within one room to a congregation that is international. So I'm asking you to own your own new life. And this is something, use this as a template for your congregants. Own your new life. This is me, become proud of what you're doing. People, oh yeah, I'm doing more Zoom calls. I'm just there, no, you're doing Zoom calls. You're meeting with people that are around the world, and you're having an experience that will affect others. And I leave you with this one thing, to test yourself constantly. Now I'm going to say this, and I'm probably talking to the choir, to ask you that at the end of the day, to make a list of all the good things that happened. Now, I have been fortunate enough to be asked to speak, and I've done pretty much this presentation without the beginnings about how I got here, to other New Thought congregations. And when I finished and I got to this point, one of the congregants said to me, Steve, I have a major problem. She says, I'm a social worker. And one of the ladies that I deal with is so upset about what's gone on all these months. To her, nothing is good. Nothing can be written down at the end of the day as good. And I said to this woman, maybe the only thing she'll be able to write down is the fact that you called her and asked her, how are you? I'd like to leave you with one thing here. Within the book, whether you buy the book or not, I don't care. If you're into all the different faiths, I think you'll learn a lot. I think you'll enjoy it. It's a pretty neat book. I liked it, so I open it to you. But within the book, I introduced a meditation. This is a meditation that I created in the 1980s. And I brought in how to strengthen each one of the colors within your chakras, within the rainbow. And I created a YouTube for this so that while you're reading the book, you can read through the meditation, or you can listen to it on YouTube. And together you can strengthen by going through the rainbow, strengthen your red, strengthen your orange, all the colors, so that you become that much stronger and able to take on the world. And with that, I'm going to stop sharing and I'm going to open it up to questions.
All righty, I'm going to unmute you. What it will do is say you're asked to unmute. Allie, do you have anything to share? Right.
Thank you so much, Steve. That was, it was very touching to hear your story and to see your evolution. And what stuck out to me is that you didn't do it alone. There were people around you all the time, and it's that were inspiring you through conversations you may have had with them, or ideas that you threw out there and then someone had a response. It seems like this everything that you've been doing, all of your books, and particularly this one, is sort of a culmination of your life's path and all the connections you've made with the varying different colors of the rainbow along the way. And so I just feel blessed to know that you're a part of our community, our ANTN family, and the many, many lives that you've touched throughout your experience. And I'm sure every group you're involved with really has to stand up a bit taller because of your enthusiasm and your knowing and your such generous heart. So thank you for sharing. I'm looking forward to hearing more of what other people have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Alice. You know, one of the things I kind of missed, but I should include, is that when all the different speakers, interfaith speakers, got together in 2005, and then again in 2006, it was obvious that Abigail and I said, we have to do something. We can't just be our New Thought isolated practitioners. We need to do more. And my belief has always been that if people meet each other, sit down and have a meal, people that you thought you had nothing in common with, and you look at that person and say, well, how many people were in your family? You had two brothers? Hey, I had two brothers. You had a terrible fourth grade teacher? I had a terrible fourth grade teacher. Hey, you went to and we find out that people that we look at as different are not so different. That some of the media and some of the groups that, push hate, that they don't like anybody who doesn't look exactly like them and believe exactly what they believe. But when you realize that most people are the same, we have the same of all the genes in our body, 0.1% is different.
Yeah.
99.9% of all the genes in our body is exactly the same as the person sitting next to you. The person who's 200 pounds heavier than you, person that's opposite sex, person that came from a different country, person, whatever they came from, they are exactly like you. And once we accept that, whoa. Abigail, isn't she beautiful?
Just a little biased. I'd like to also just, just share, because I have the book in front of me. I don't know if you can see it, but what Steve has been saying about how when we get to know somebody over coffee or a meal, or we really get to know them as people. And what I love about this book is each person that's in this book, and Matt, thank you for contributing to the book, he's in the book, they share their faith with such love and joy that you can feel that. And in that feeling essence, you connect with the person. And that is what we really are trying, well, I'm only going to say trying, we are achieving every step of the way, everything that we do. It's always that trying to get to that place of that connection where we really can feel what the other person is feeling about their faith and how much they love it. And when Steve said we had that interfaith summer nights where we invited a speaker from a different faith each week, we were really just blown away because we didn't know back in the early 2000s what the faith believed. And when you finally got to hearing somebody talk about the love of their faith, you realize you're not so different. And so we know all the people in this book very well. And they're just kind of like our family. If we need to call on somebody to say, hey, what does your faith think about blah, blah, blah? Or can we have you as a speaker? And it just becomes just wonderful interfaith family. And I know that in that family, we all love and respect one another. And we're so actively involved in the poly interfaith team, which we call POINT, POINT, that's the first few letters of each of those names. And, just this morning, I was reaching out to a Muslim friend of mine. I said, I'm really trying to reach this lady from blah, blah, blah. And can you help me? And he says, oh, of course, but I have another person that would be even better. So it's always this connection. And the bigger and the broader and the more expansive we are, our whole world expands. So I do encourage you, if you want to know how faith love their faith, this is really a lovely book to read about. And we know these people well. So anyway, I'm plugging your book, honey.
Thank you.
So
Well,
it's really lovely.
Jean,
So my dear friend, Steve, whom I love with my whole heart, and that's true. When I was looking at your biography and remembering most of it, I didn't see the part about your heart. You left that part out. And
no, and that was in 2012, and that's when I was recovering and went to a Sikh temple and was asked, okay, your new thought, when do you have your holiday?
got it. Yeah. And Steve, when and I hope this isn't too personal, but I think about this sometimes. When you were in that coma for a while healing, and that was a while, I often think about what you were doing because I have this feeling that you were, I think that was a really amazing experience, and you probably met up with everybody, and not only your relatives, but all the amazing leaders, religious leaders who have come before, and the saints and the sages and the shining ones, all of that. But anyway, it was a long time, but I think that it was an amazing experience for you.
You must have been there, Jean, because I ended up during the time of the operation. And for those of you who have ever been anesthetized for a long period of time, you probably have stories to tell about things that you experienced. In fact, after my stroke, I began to volunteer at the rehab department of a local hospital. And I got, for the last 16 years, except during the COVID, I got to talk to patients, and many of them had experiences like I did. And while they were in this anesthetized state, had these incredible experiences. Mine included going to an ANTN conference. And Jean, I might have been dancing with you, I'm not sure, but it's quite possible. But I remember that all the women were wearing these beautiful hoop skirts in red, and it was pre-rainbow, but they were reds and blues and whites and yellows, and were dancing around, having a wonderful time. So Jean, thank you for reminding me. I appreciate that.
Well, I just want to say one other thing. I just want to recognize a dear friend of ours who's on this call, Reverend Karen Koblenz. She doesn't have her beautiful picture, but she is a good friend, and she's president of the San Diego Interfaith Ministerial Association. And we are also involved with that. And they meet once a month, and she does wonderful speakers, and she's very involved in interfaith in her church, Seaside Center for Spiritual Living. And Dr. Christian Sorensen is the lead minister there, and Karen is one of the associate ministers. So Karen, glad to have you on board today. Little shout out to you, friend.
Janine?
Well, I was thinking of the reboot series. I don't think I heard you use the word series, because I actually built a fire pit in my backyard so I could have classes out there. And I would teach from the reboot series. They were great for people who were new to practical spirituality. And I love those books, but I
Thank you.
only heard one reboot. There was several of them.
Yeah, there's actually 9 in the series.
Yes.
After I wrote Reboot, after the stroke, I then wrote Reboot to Life and Reboot to Marriage with a question mark. Reboot to, and the last one was Reboot to Interfaith. And I don't want to insult anybody in New Thought. The beauty of New Thought is that it accepts and absorbs from every other faith. It says that those who are Christian, Jewish, Muslim, Zoroastrian, my friend Manik is here in the middle of the screen. I'm so happy you joined us. He wrote the chapter on Zoroastrian. That when we meet people and realize how close we are to them, our heart changes. Our heart changes. And all the books, Janine, that I wrote about rebooting was, if you have a thought that is limiting to you, whatever it might be, that you can reboot through that thought. You can reboot past the barrier. Janine has been very kind and invited me a few times onto her radio show, and as well as a number of you have, I've been on your congregational as a speaker, and I love doing that, because if I can get one person to reboot out of a tough time, then I've done the right thing. If I can show one person that a Zoroastrian man is as kind as their Christian relatives, I've done it. And that's what we need to do, is to be talking about it. I got to shut up and let everybody else. Jan.
Blessings. I love you, Steve. Love you, love you, love you. I just wanted to mention that our dear Dr. Frank Zimmerman every Sunday refers to that golden thread of truth that winds through every faith and religion. And it's always had this wonderful sense of inclusivity in the services. It brings that reminder. And this is what I'm hearing here, is that beautiful truth, that golden thread of truth that winds through all of it. We're all connected to it.
I just found this quote by Ernest Holmes that I know many of us have used in the past, or even now. I know Dave Beauregard uses this a lot. The philosophy of religious science is nothing new to the world. It is rather a synthesis of the greatest concepts that have ever come to the mind of humankind. The laws of Moses, the love of Christ, the ethics of Buddha, the morals of Confucius, and the deep spiritual realization of the Hindus all find an exalted place in the philosophy of religious science. And I know he didn't say all the religions there, but the whole idea is that we have taken, the highest part of all the faiths, and we incorporate incorporated them in some way into our New Thought movement. So I just wanted to share that since we're talking about interfaith.
Manic.
Yeah. Yeah, I like people, you know, the organization that you have started and you know, worked with, because they are not trying to convert people, you know, just like some religions, even though they say we respect all religions, but then they also have a little secret program to convert them, you know, proselytize, you know. Some do it very directly, some do it like a soft sell, you know, and all that. So that is important, you know. And one new thought that I would like to share is that, which I have been kind of advocating in my own community. What happens is that, you know, the teachings of the original founders of the religion, you know, they are what are common amongst all of us, you know. They all tell you to be loving, love your neighbor, you know, happiness to others who create happiness, or happiness to them who create happiness for others. And, you know, charity, compassion, justice, you know, these are the concepts that most, I would say, all of the original founders have taught their followers. What has happened since then is that we have created these institutions, you know, of religion, which have a good purpose, you know, to try to remind people of those things and to how to implement them principles in actual life. But what happens is that eventually some of these rules and regulations that may become outdated, you know, they may have served a purpose in a particular time in history, but may no longer serve it. And then people tend to blindly follow these traditions, you know, and then they lose focus on the principles. So I always tell them that, you know, whenever you have a doubt, you know, whenever you are not sure whether this rule is applicable and the right thing for me to decide on, go back to the roots, you know, of your founders' teachings. You know, they may be very few, but see if they are compatible with what they taught us, you know. For example, if some religion says, well, these people are followers of the devil and we should kill them, you know, or hurt them or remove them, then go to your founders' words of love and compassion and equality and all that, and say, well, that doesn't make sense, you know, that I should be following that, you know. So that's like, you know, a lot of these days we have fake news coming from political leaders, religious leaders, you know, community leaders. And again, we need to go back to say, okay, does what they are saying, does that make sense? Does it follow the principles that were taught to us by Jesus Christ or Muhammad or Buddha, you know, or any other religious founder? Like in our case, the Zarathustra or Zoroaster was our founder, you know, over 5,000 years ago. And luckily, we have preserved those his teachings, in his own words, you know, that because in the old time they didn't have written history, they had oral tradition, and the priests used to memorize and recite those teachings, you know. So that is my new thought that I kind of try to advocate to my community and, you know, to others whenever I talk.
That's wonderful. And in fact, that brings up exactly this past Saturday, we had a minister friend who had passed, and we had a memorial service. It was one of the first times that we have been together with a lot of people in a church. And the one thing that he had said to us is that all of the avatars did not create the religions. Jesus did not create Christianity. He was a Jew. Baha'u'llah did not create the Baha'is. And you can go down every single one of the avatars that we consider to be the person who started the religion and find out it wasn't until after their death that their followers created a religion in their behalf.
Right.
So we're not talking about someone coming down from the heavens and saying, I have all the answers, do it my way. We're saying that they talk to people. Jesus spoke to people, and he says, treat everyone the same. Love one another.
Right.
And it's only in the followers that either kept that idea or changed it for them.
And one of the unique things that I know about my religion is that the prophet Zarathustra, he told his followers that before you make your decisions in day-to-day life, after learning from my teachings and from the other elders and wise people, that you have to think what is right to do or say in today's time, in today's society, wherever you are, and then you make your decision and make sure that you remember that you are going to have to face the consequences, of your decisions. And so every individual has to think before they make the decision, not blindly follow something.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I don't know what our timing is, Ally. We have another half hour or 45 minutes, or no? I'm teasing.
No, we have another 5-6 minutes, and so maybe we have time for a couple more comments. Sorry, those are the peacocks. Yeah. I'm gonna mute myself if it keeps going on, but maybe there's somebody that wants to make a comment or has a question. We've got a couple minutes to take a couple more, Steve.
Charles.
First of all, I want to honor you. This is my first time to really take in your heart, and you clearly have your master's degree in rebooting. They're on emotional, physical, mental, spiritual, and I'm so honored to take that into my soul. And my journey too has been the continuity of being willing to reboot. And one of the things I love to share: never give up, but be willing to step back, and take a new view of yourselves. And I've rebooted myself to Clancy, Montana. I now live in the forest. I have stepped out of a traditional center containment, in the sense of creating a whole new journey called Mind Your Own Becoming, which is about bringing to issue the relevant, pertinent issues of the divisiveness, the hatred, the separation, the racism, everything. And so we have weekly discussions on that on Thursday night. I'm just thrilled because my whole journey, this is my 50th year of ministry. And these are the best years of my life ahead of me. And every one of you, take a look at what Dr. Steve has said about rebooting, stepping in. Let go of the word normal. Oh my God, clear that normal out of your vocabulary, because every day is meant to be a new discovery opportunity of your work, of your soul, of your purpose. And Dr. Steve, thank you for reminding me.
Thank you so much, Charles. An example I always give is the infant who is starting to crawl, and you can see that they're wanting to get up on their legs, but they can't do it yet. And then they finally get up on their hind legs, and where do they go? Boom, right down on their butt.
Yeah.
And there's a little, ah! But then they get up and they try again. And all of a sudden, mom and dad are learning how to lose weight by chasing the baby around the house. That when we are hit with something that seems like a slap on the butt, we need to realize that we can get up and move forward and reach levels that we don't even know. I can't tell you, when I left the synagogue in in 1960 that I would be a minister in New Thought, dealing and focusing on interfaith. It wasn't in my vocabulary. You don't know what's in your vocabulary yet until tomorrow, or the day after, or the day after that.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. And Steve, would you grace us with a closing prayer? Maybe a rainbow closing prayer?
I would love to do that. Let's close our eyes and take one deep breath. And every time we breathe, we realize that Spirit has brought us the ability to take in the nourishment of this environment, everything we can see and everything which we can't, but we can feel. And we know that everything around us is part of this Spirit, is part of this love. And each one of us is getting stronger and stronger, knowing that anything we want to accomplish is available. Anything we want to see is now ours. Anything we want to do, we can do. And we open ourselves to greater good, knowing that God's light is guiding us into areas that we have not been to before. And knowing that we are reaching levels that had never been thought of. Thank you, God, for guiding us, for all the good that has been given to us over these many years, and all the good that is about to be given to us. And to our families and friends, we know that perfect health, perfect love, perfect joy is beginning to happen now. And we accept that. And we say together, and so it is. Amen. And amen.
Beautiful. Thank you. And John, do you have a couple of announcements?
Yes, I do. I was, since Dr. Bill is here, he's got a couple things coming up this month, so do you want to speak to that, Dr. Bill?
I would love to. And the second one, which I don't have the date for in front of me, is the social scramble. We did that at the online retreat as one of the breakout sessions. We're going to do another one of those. John, what's the date for the social scramble?
Yeah, it's on July 30th.
July 30th. So we're going to get together on Zoom and going to pair up in breakout rooms and get to know people from our New Thought world across the country or across town, and just get to, at random, spend a few minutes connecting and getting to know each other. There will be details coming out in the email about that. If you're not registered for the ANTN email, go ahead and sign up for that. The other one is as the pandemic seems to be winding itself down, and we're in a position of getting back into in-person celebrations, classes, and so forth. We all know how to do that, and we figured out over the last 15 months how to do Zoom and to be virtual. But now we have to be in the room together with the people who are in the room, but we don't want to lose the folks who are across the country. So we want to be able to do hybrid. And it turns out hybrid is much more complicated than doing 100% virtual. And it's not just about bringing an iPhone into the room. So people have been asking me how to do that. And the background that I have in technology and broadcasting actually gave me some answers. So I put together an on-demand class on what the issues are and how to get around it. I think there are 6 or 8 modules in it. And the class is online at Thinkific. And ANTN is actually offering a very, very sweet deal to ANTN members. Normally the class is $49.95 and you can sign up for it. It'll be in the e-news as well. But if you're an ANTN member, you get a coupon code from the administrator, that John Karn guy over there, and you get it for $20. And ANTN is basically funding that because as an organization, we believe that it's important for people to have this information. And that'll be coming out in the e-news coming up in whenever John knows when that comes up. the next week or so.
Okay, great. Thank you, Dr. Bill. That's exciting. Also, real quick, our conference, our early bird registration for the conference ends on July 31st, and that's $550 instead of $600. And then the deadline for conference registration period is going to be September 15th, because we do have to get in the number of people to the Unity people and the diets and all that kind of stuff. So that is it. I am complete. I trust you've had a wonderful day. Dr. Steve, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I just wanted to share one more thing. I know everybody is from different parts of the country. And so whenever I speak at any location, I always bring food. Now, because you're in different parts, I didn't know if you wanted lunch or if you wanted just some nosh. So everything on the left side of the screen are vegetables and barbecue and
Hi.
drinks and stuff. And everything on the right side are donuts from different parts of the world, New Orleans, you'll see them. So you can have whatever you'd like. Now, usually when I show the food like this, people say, well, I want it. Well, take a screenshot. Take a screenshot and indulge in it, because if you don't eat it now, I have to eat it. And I appreciate not having to do it myself.
Thank
God
you,
bless-
Dr. Steve. Thank you. And
God
thank you.
bless you all.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us today, and many
you, Ally.
blessings.
And
Thank you.
Dr. Steve, there was a question in the chat box. If you could send the YouTube link, perhaps send it to me and I can put it in our email blast.
Okay.
Okay.
Will you stay on and I can send it to you
Sure.
right away? Okay.
Absolutely.
Also, Manic wanted it too, Steve. You've got his email, right?
Yeah.
Okie doke. Thank you all for being here. We look forward to seeing you soon. Great love.
Bye.
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 Thank
Bye.
you.
Good job, buddy.
Hi, everybody.
Here we go. I will put my email right here.
Oops.
It's the ANTN email.
Somehow I lost everything. I have a black screen.
Oh, how about that?
Oh,
What
there,
about you?
I'm back.
Okay.
Which do you want the YouTube?
Yeah, the YouTube for the meditation is,
Okay.
they were asking for that.
Okay. All right, that's that. If I go to chat, I should be able to type message. There you go.
Okie doke. Thank you so much.
All right, my pleasure. Did you also want the book?
Can we order it on Amazon?
Yeah,
Like just look up your name and it'll probably pop up.
yeah.
And I wrote down. I'm
A
sorry.
Rainbow for the World.
Yep, I wrote that down when you started talking because I do want to get it. I could put that in an email as well.
Okay.
Say Rainbow for the World and the YouTube. All right, well,
Yeah,
thank you.
The neat thing about the YouTube is that you can do it anytime you want.
Yeah,
You know, it's really very deep. Goes for 21 minutes.
okay. UTUBE, the dot, JPUM hyphen MCCFLS. Okay, so I've got it.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Hey, John, I appreciate all your organizing.
It's fine. I told Angie I'm going to reach out to you and Abigail about doing the interfaith course, just because I'm curious and want to know more.
Well, I think Abigail's probably had 8 or 9 students over the years
Mhm.
that, you know, it's like, it's really an incredible course.
Yeah, I think it, maybe open some doors. It will help me and to understand other ways of seeing things and just expand the people I'm reaching.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
All right. Enjoy the donuts.
I know. I wish they were here. All right. Take care.
Take care. Bye.
Bye-bye. There we go. And